everyone. I want to start this morning with a few comments and words of appreciation. First, I want to say thank you to Rosie for your leadership over these last 2 years, leading this organization. Rosie, I look forward to continuing for the next many, many years together here. Thank you. I also want to say congratulations to Michael Kasson and the Kasson family. Michael, thank you for your leadership, your dedication. I look forward to the next 2 years of our partnership becoming even deeper and stronger as we work together to strengthen the bonds between the United States and Israel. I also want to take a moment here to recognize the close to 2,000 students that are here with us this morning. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, taking time away from your families and from school. And in particular, I want to recognize the midshipmen who are here from the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis and the cadets that are here from the United States Military Academy at West Point. Thank you. Thank you. And finally, I want to express what an honor it is to share this podium with our next speaker. You will hear later this morning, Senator Joe Lieberman. Senator Lieberman has been truly one of the giants on behalf of the U.S.-Israel relationship for the last 24 years on every single issue affecting the U.S.-Israel relationship. And I just want to say what an honor it is to be here with you this morning. I am here today to talk about a danger to America and to the world. I'm here today to talk about a nation that, should it become a nuclear power, will present a long-term threat to other oil-producing nations in the Persian Gulf, dominate OPEC, and drive up the price of oil. A nation that, should it become a nuclear power, would trigger a race for nuclear weapons that would proliferate across the Middle East. Imagine, if you can, Syria, Saudi Arabia, tomorrow's Egypt, armed with nuclear weapons. I'm talking about a nation that, should it become a nuclear power, could well provide nuclear know-how and even nuclear devices to international terrorists, to Hezbollah, to Hamas, to other radical Islamist groups, all operating under the umbrella of one nuclear nation. Now, this is not speculation. This nation has publicly declared it is prepared to share this technology with its friends. And nor are these dangers distant from our shores or our cities, because I'm talking about a nation that, should it become a nuclear power, can bring terror here. Terrorists armed with nuclear devices here to our own hemisphere. This nation could share its nuclear technology with Venezuela, Nicaragua, Bolivia, its friends who are no friends of America. Taken together, these many challenges pose a serious danger to America. I'm talking about a nuclear-capable Iran. That changes everything. It's not necessary for Iran to actually even have the bomb to demonstrate beyond doubt that they have crossed the nuclear threshold. Iran, with simply the capacity to quickly produce a weapon, is a risk to peace and a threat to the world. Iran as a threshold nuclear state will strengthen our foes and frighten our enemies. We know today that, in a way that we never even knew before, just how close we came to war with the Soviet Union during the Cuban Missile Crisis. We were seconds away. Iran's mullahs differ from that Soviet leadership, which at least operated on a calculus about the severe consequences to them about using the world's most devastating weapons. And there's ample evidence that we cannot count on this regime in Iran to use the same calculus. And that is why, as President Obama stated yesterday morning, containment, a policy that would allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon, is not the answer. Preventing Iran from ever having a nuclear weapons capability, that is the answer. A nuclear-capable Iran means real risks for the United States, her friends and allies. The risk is the greatest. The threat existential for one country in particular, Israel. There's a unique place for Israel in Iran's ideology. Iran says it's ready to pursue normal relations with every state except Israel, which they say should be erased from the map. Consider the prediction of the moderate former Iranian President Rafsanjani that Israel could be wiped out with just one nuclear weapon, while the Muslim world, it would survive any such exchange. Or consider the diagnosis of the Supreme Leader Khamenei, that Israel is a cancer that must be removed. Now, some will explain away these statements. Others say we should dismiss them as simply the unfortunate examples of this regime's rhetorical style. But Iran has gone beyond ideology to action, pursuing a strategy today of targeting Israelis on a global scale. And when we say Israel faces an existential threat, what precisely does that mean? How does it differ from the threat a nuclear Iran poses to other nations? Israel is small. Its distance from danger is measured in seconds. Israel is strong, but its strengths cannot diminish the factors that make it especially vulnerable. These factors, Israel's place in Iran's ideology, its size, its proximity to danger, all these create a disequilibrium, a divergence about when Iran's actions present a critical danger, say to the United States or to the West, and when they pose a critical danger to Israel. So even as we act to stop Iran, we must be clear and candid about where we are now that Iran has progressed to this very point. We must start with an appreciation of Iran's extraordinary efforts to mask its work, to shield from the world just how close it has come to a full nuclear weapons capability. No nation can gamble its sovereignty and security on perfect knowledge of a clandestine effort by an avowed enemy. And this is the reality. This is the context in which Israel must decide her course of action. if she can put her fate in the hands of anyone, even her closest ally, America, or if she must conduct a strike to postpone Iran from acquiring a nuclear bomb. Israel was created to ensure that the Jewish people would never have to put their fate in the hands of others. Let us be clear. Let us be clear. Israel does not want Iran to force her to have to strike. For 20 years, Israel has sounded the alarm about the dangers of Iran becoming a nuclear power. In an attempt to avoid military confrontation by anyone, Israel has never treated force as the first resort. It has always been, and still is, the last resort. But Israel does not control the path Iran is on. If at some point Israel or anyone must act, only Iran will be to blame. But if Israel is forced into taking military action that she and the world did their best to avoid, then America must stand with the Jewish state. So what do we do? Because despite the danger, despite the hour, there is still time to stop Iran without the use of force. But that time is running out quickly. President Obama and his administration are to be commended. They have, more than any other administration, more than any other country, brought unprecedented pressure to bear on Tehran through the use of biting economic sanctions. They have built a broad coalition to isolate the Iranian regime, and they have brought the necessary military assets to the Gulf and to Iran's neighbors in order to signal that America has the power to act. In addition, this Congress has demonstrated strong bipartisan leadership by passing tough financial sanctions, even on the central bank of Iran. And that was a key element in Europe's decision to ban Iranian oil imports. Now, all of these accomplishments by our leaders have led to important progress. Iran's mullahs are under severe pressure. Iran's economy is in a free fall. The Iranian regime is more isolated than it has ever been. The problem is, progress is not enough. This is a test, but there are no grades. The only measure is pass or fail. We know that when the regime in Tehran feels frightened, it will stop its nuclear pursuits. History shows us that when this regime in Tehran was scared, it froze its nuclear program. When the American soldiers entered Iraq in 2003 and Tehran feared it would be next, Iran stopped work on developing a nuclear weapon. But when the mullahs' fear diminished, Iran's nuclear scientists returned to business as usual and have been at it ever since. The reality today is that the Iranian regime is not frightened enough. So we must increase the pressures on the mullahs to the point where they fear failure to comply will lead to their downfall. That is why we must bring even more pressure to bear. 4 tracks are critical: tough, disciplined, principled diplomacy, truly crippling sanctions, disruptive measures, and establishing a credible threat to use force. All four are necessary. All 4 are essential to underscore beyond any doubt that the United States and the West are serious about stopping Iran. And all 4 taken together offer the best chance to avoid a war that no one, not the United States, not Israel, seeks. And that is why all U.S. officials, all of our officials, must speak with one voice. One voice, so Tehran clearly hears that America is unified in its determination to prevent a nuclear-capable Iran. Our leaders and our allies should always be ready for productive discussions. But for any diplomacy to succeed, Iran's leaders must demonstrate in advance that they are serious about giving up their quest for nuclear weapons. We should demand that they again verifiably freeze their nuclear program as required by the UN Security Council before talks begin. The best way, the only way, to stop Iran and avoid the possibility of war is to demonstrate to Tehran that we will use every diplomatic, economic, political, and if need be, military tool available. And that is why tomorrow we will go to Capitol Hill together as one unified community to make clear to our leaders that we must ramp up the pressure now through crippling sanctions. Together we will tell them that Iran, not our ally Israel, is the problem. And that all options except containment, are on the table. To be sure, this is a time of testing. Not long ago, Israeli author and political figure Yair Lapid, who was with us here this morning, Yair recalled the words of his late father, Tommy Lapid, a Holocaust survivor, a noted Israeli leader, and a great friend of AIPAC. In a speech he gave on the occasion of Holocaust Remembrance Day, his words are relevant at this hour. He said, "The enlightened world advises us to be compromising and assume risks for the chances of peace. Yet we ask the enlightened world, we ask on Holocaust Remembrance Day, all those who preach to us, what will you do if we assume the risks and sacrifice victims and put our trust in you, and then something goes wrong? What if the other side does not act as it is expected to, and instead hurls at us fire and plagues and poisons and possibly even nuclear weapons? What will you do then? Will you ask for forgiveness? Will you say we were wrong? Will you send us bandages? Will you open orphanages for the children who survived? will you pray for our souls? That nightmare vision, that day after, must never come to pass. Israel can never let that nightmare come, because Israel's promise to those who felt the flames of the Holocaust, never again. We have our own role to play. We must persuade our decision makers to ratchet up the pressure so that they cripple Iran's nuclear ambition. We must be prepared in any scenario to persuade our leaders that America must stand with Israel. And as we make our way through these dangerous and difficult days, we, all of us, must remain completely unified. We must recoil from any inclination to make this situation or allow others to make this about parties or politics. This moment can only be about the safety and security of America and Israel. It must only be about a world which, but for our leadership and our actions, will be changed forever. That is why we're here. Here to ensure that on this day in history, in a moment of great decision, we set forth the principles and pave the way for America and Israel to continue their shared commitment to values and a vision of a world free from the tyranny of violence, hatred, and oppression. A world where strength and security, peace and prosperity reign. Thank you.